We don't need any Pow Kitty bullshit. We have transcended into Odin. Odin.
It's Cheeto dust.
What's going on, everybody? This is Stubbs from BRB Gaming, along with my co-host, Thor.
Hey, everybody. How you doing? I'm excited for tonight.
Me too, man. We are going to talk about something we never thought we would. The Odin Pro. You know, it's here. We did a live stream the other night, but this is going to be our deep dive review. So we're actually going to dive into everything that it can do, stuff you might not know about, what our thoughts are, what our conclusions are, our likes, our dislikes. And also we're going to show a little showcase of performance. So we captured some footage from the device itself, and it's going to be a little improved from our live stream, as you saw. So it's from the device. And right, we had a little bit of trouble there, and thank you for being patient with us. A little bit technical, but we're just going to have fun with this. So we did not get a review unit for this, and we were getting a custom firmware one later, supposedly. Come on, Nicole, send it over. But this one I bought with cold hard cash, so I am not going to hold back at all. And
and he's got opinions now.
I got thoughts. I got opinions.
Well, I'm sure everybody's excited for those opinions, but I am going to kick us off real quick with the necessary humdrum. We've got some specs. I'm not going to bore everybody with details, but the Odin Pro specifically has the 845. The Odin Base also has the Snapdragon 845 processor. The Odin Pro that we're reviewing here has the 8 gigabyte RAM, as well as has 128 gigabyte eMMC, so that's 128 gigabytes of storage. But one of the better features here is the 6600 milliamp hour battery. It is a monster, and it's going to get you playing probably upwards of 6 hours or more, depending on your brightness settings.
Oh, more than that.
Yeah,
I'd say.
So, yeah. It's got a really nice 7-inch 1080p touchscreen, and according to Stubbs, it seems pretty responsive. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a very responsive touchscreen, much more so than the 2 Plus, just as responsive as the 552.
Mm-hmm. Well, so that's a great way to interact with it, but because I don't have one in my hands yet, and my major concerns are the shoulder buttons. How are you feeling about the shoulder buttons right now?
The shoulder buttons, I mean, this is your dream, right, man? The stacked shoulder buttons. So
right. I love the stacked, and they're analog.
They're analog. They feel very good. It's nice and responsive. It's much improved, I would say, from like the 2 Plus sort of situation with their stacked shoulder implementation. There's a lot of, you can depress it all the way there, and it detects all of the values from the littlest push all the way down, and you can set the dead zone on that, by the way. So that's really nice.
But it seems like they really went above and beyond to make things configurable in the software, right?
Yes, they did. So they did go above and beyond, I would say, in the software. I'm actually very surprised with the software. But L1 R1 is nice and kind of mushy, but still has that clicky tactile feel to it. My unit has no issues, but we've heard that there are issues.
That's what I was going to bring up. Yeah, we've heard some reports that there's some quality assurance issues or quality control issues, QC, with the Odin shoulder buttons. So take a look for that. AYN has reached out and made a statement.
AYN?
Yes, they have. AYN. I always say AYN. I'm sorry. AYN has made a statement saying that they're going to be talking to the factory that's producing it and making sure that this isn't an issue in future units. So that's happening.
Right. And I have not found any technical or glitches like that on my unit. So no malfunctions there.
So it's got the clickable L3 R3 as it should for something that's capable of streaming. It's got the micro SD card slot, which you can put a big fat SD card in there without worrying about it.
And mine came with a big fat fingerprint.
It did have a fingerprint on it, and he's stuck on it.
It's covered in Cheeto dust. Yeah,
but it's Cheeto dust. Yeah, Cheeto Steve was in there messing with your Odin. It does have rumble and the gyro, so those are really good ways to interact with games. How's the gyro on it? Let me ask you that.
So I stumbled upon the gyro. I was not expecting there to be a gyro. I did not know it's not advertised, much like on the 2 Plus was not advertised. Yep. So I was just playing Real Racing 3 for Android, and I noticed when I moved the thing around that it moved and it worked. I'm like, oh, that's really sweet. It works well for Android games. It works well for Game Boy Color, for Game Boy Advanced, and it works really well for Nintendo Wii. So you can use your Wiimote gyro for moving it around by moving the Odin, for like shaking it for like New Super Mario Brothers, to get Mario to do his twirly where he goes in the sky like that. It works really well. So that's neat. Really cool. There's also Rumble, and the Rumble is really nice. It's not super intense like it is on the 552. It's just the right amount, and you can configure the Rumble as well to sort of be a little bit.
Can you disable it entirely?
Yes. Yeah, you definitely can disable it, but it's going to be per emulator. By default, It's turned on in the device. So,
what about the microphone? Have you done anything with that? Because there is a microphone in it.
There is, and I did a little bit of recording on it. It's a high quality mic. It sounds good. It picks up everything in the room pretty well, which I wish it was a little bit more directional. And it's kind of like an omnidirectional mic, so it'll pick up the whole room if you're trying to do streaming from the device, which you definitely can. It's fine. I would say 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10 for the mic.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, for a built-in mic, that's not phone quality. Sure.
It'll work for Nintendo DS just fine.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, then it's fine. If you're concerned about that, if that's your primary concern.
Yeah. If you want to TikTok shit in Halo, then yeah.
It has the LED ring lights around the joysticks and on the side. You were praising that to me earlier, saying that it felt nice when you were playing in the dark or in bed or something like that, right?
Yeah. So it looks, here in this lighting, it doesn't show off real well, but it
looks good though.
When you're in bed at night, you can turn your brightness all the way down to like 0.1% and just have those lights on, and it's really just kind of nice and moody and ambient. And I'm like, this feels like a top tier first party handheld. Like this is made by Valve or something. It's really cool. So,
well, but it has that ultra low brightness for night gaming, so you can lay next to Chthonics, right, and not wake her up with the brightness.
And I tested that. I tested with a baby. Okay, a baby was right next to me as well, and no baby wake ups, no wife wake ups. Approved. It's good.
That's impressive, but it also gets stupid bright too, though, right? That screen.
Yeah. So the other thing is that you can take it out in the daytime, go play some soccer, go to the park, and you can turn the brightness way up, and you can still see the games. I did a test with that yesterday. Very surprised. Sun was beating down. Worked well.
Okay. Well, let's see here. So we covered the top and shoulder buttons. What about the M1 and M2 buttons on the back? How do those work out for you?
So I assume that those are mappable in most Android games. Okay. I only got them, but they are not recognizable in any emulators, anything like that. So what you got to do is use them through the touchscreen controls. So what you can do is you can go to the screen mapper and you can apply it, for instance, to be like the hotkey to fast forward in DuckStation or AetherSX2.
Oh, that's cool.
And I tied it to that, and then also use the other one for like a save state feature in a lot of these emulators. So that works well. It also works well in something like Call of Duty, because Call of Duty Mobile has a lot of extra features in it. And so you could use it for like a missile strike. So I tied it to the missile strike function. And they're very clicky. They feel like the L1 and R1 buttons. And they work well. You can find a use for those M1, M2 buttons in almost every game in some way. Just hotkeys. You don't have to in RetroArch, for instance, you could set it up to not have to do like hold L3 or something and have a hotkey combo. You can just directly press that button. But again, you need to do it through the touch. So you're gonna have to first configure your touch mapping.
Okay.
To a function.
So you're talking about the key mapper, right? The built-in key mapper.
The key mapper.
So you're talking about Call of Duty. At how you've made it seem like once you got it configured, it worked really well, though, right?
Yes.
For Call of Duty.
Yeah. Call of Duty was annoying at first because the right joystick was making your character like just jittery, like go boop, boop, boop. Yeah. And it turns out by default, by default, the right joystick, the behavior on it is set to like a MOBA or some other type of game. So you need to change it to the FPS mode in the key mapper settings. Then you get that really, really smooth movement.
Buttery.
Yeah. Turn the sensitivity down because it's too sensitive. Turn it down to like 30%. Now in Call of Duty, now you're playing with fire. Like now it's really good. Drag your key mapper buttons down on over all the different things your character does. Yeah. Map your M1, your M2, and Call of Duty feels like a console game now. I mean, I've been having more fun with that than anything as far as Android native games.
Do you think that, is there a way to map the built-in streaming and screen recorder to some of those buttons? Like if you had the M1, M2 button, do you think you could use it to record maybe?
I gotta say yes. I gotta say that there is a like an auto hotkey app you can probably download to get some extra functionality out of those buttons. And I'm sure Taki or Russ is going to cover this, but those are going to be used very creatively, and I'm very happy that they're there. I didn't know I wanted those until they were an option for me. So I have nothing to compare them to.
We definitely got some nice screen recorded footage coming up here in a minute. But for now, again, we're talking about Call of Duty. That's a pretty graphically intensive game that's native to Android.
Yes.
Did you burn your fingerprints off? That's what I need to know. Man, my phone gets hot. I have a Pixel 4 XL, and anytime I'm doing anything graphically accelerated, Ocean Horn or anything like that, it gets pretty toasty, even through the case.
I have not had this thing get hot since that we were doing that live stream, and I didn't know how the fan worked yet. And so it did get hot because I didn't have the fan on at first. However, make sure I just leave it in high performance mode all the time. Then I turn up the fan to smart mode, so the fan will ramp up if the CPU ramps up, and it works really well. This thing has not gotten hot. I've been using it for 4 days now, 4 or 5 days. Yeah. And it has stayed cool. I keep my hands around the fan, and it keeps my hands nice and sweat free. It's really nice.
Well, that's nice for the fan to work that well, but how easy do you think it would be to mess that up? Do you think people just need to get used to swapping fan profiles, or do you think
just leave it in smart mode?
Just leave it on smart.
Just leave it in smart, because if you're playing something like SNES, it doesn't even kick the fan on for the most part.
Right. That makes sense, and probably a lot of the basic Android native apps. Now, if you're running Genshin or something like that, you should probably
you're going to hear it ramp up
high.
Yeah, it'll go crazy. And if you want to, you can manually change it to the sport mode, so it keeps it on full blast. It's just kind of loud, so I would say leave it in smart if you can get away with it. And that's been good for me.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of the features, but how does it actually feel in the hands? Because we have a lot of flat, like straight flat devices, and then there's some things like the Retroid Pocket 2 and 2 Plus that have a little bit of curve. Yeah, that thing's just flat. It's so flat.
So in this review, I'm mostly only going to compare it directly to the 552. I think it's the closest device in the range. If I still had the XP, I would have that with me right now. But the XP is
too expensive.
I don't know. Yeah, and I really think these two devices fit at the same level.
Okay.
So
they're at the same price point.
I like it. They're at the same price point. I really like the nice matte feel of the plastic. I'm a fan of matte everything. I don't like glossy devices. I don't like glossy buttons. I think that they leave fingerprints, and they're just uncomfortable to touch. This is a really nice, cool, cold shell. It's really nice matte plastic. It has an ergonomic back. So, and it's just a little bump, right? It's not a crazy bump like you have on the GPD XP, which is a painful bump to me. This is just a little bump, kind of like the RGB 10 Max 2. And it's just enough to grip it. So you can one-hand grip it pretty easy and do stuff. So you can carry a baby in your left, and you can be one-hand gripping this in the right. You can't really be playing the game one-handing, but it's enough to like one hand to go do something else and still hold the device.
But to keep it secure. Yeah.
But to keep it secure. It's lightweight. It's lighter than the 552 by a good few ounces at least. I can tell just immediately by holding them that this is a lighter device. It's a little bit wider than the 552 and just a hair taller. So
well,
it's interesting.
Let me ask you this then. Now that you've had something with like one of those ergo molded grips into it, do you like that over the flatbacks? Because I know people have preferences. I like stacked shoulder buttons.
I don't like ergo grips.
You don't like ergo grips.
I like flatbacks. I like the case and the feel of the 552 more. Okay. I think it's a better grip in general. I think it's really nice. The heaviness almost is a plus to me on this device. I don't mind non-stacked shoulder buttons. They're very clicky. L1, L2, R2. That's fine to me. But the ergonomics on the 552 I do like better than the Odin. However, they're growing on me. It's not an uncomfortable device to hold, and I've held it for hours at a time now, and it's not gotten any hand cramping, which is really impressive. So I can't knock it too hard for that. I'm just personally not a fan of these ergo backs. Probably Russ is going to get this in his hands, and he's going to love it. This is probably perfect, but that's just my own personal preference
thing. Yeah. That's a total preference.
It really is
difficult to say.
But overall, I don't. Until you go and hold it and grip back here, you're not going to notice that there's an ergo back here. Because if you hold it like this and kind of claw grip it, you won't really notice that. So for me, again, it's not really. And you can, when you lay it down, it still lays flat, nice and flat. Because these stacked shoulder buttons line up with this ergo back to make it flat.
So there's no wobble.
There's no wobble. You put it down, it is nice and safe.
All right.
So that's kind of that.
So what's next? How are the speakers on it? How are the speakers? How's the sound quality?
I didn't really hear the speakers full blast until today, but it's really nice. Let me just launch something.
So the stereo speakers.
With good
a lot of
music.
These devices just put the mono in.
That's right. My favorite thing I've listened to so far is playing Melee on GameCube.
Right.
And the Donkey Kong level, I was like, this music has some bass in it. These speakers have some bass. So I have it set to the bass profile though. So you can switch between a bass and a treble profile, and the bass profile sounds good. You got stereo speakers, which for some reason is hard to come by in these handhelds these days. I don't know why. But it just is. So let me just pull this up just real quick, because I just want to show it off right into the mic what this kind of sounds like. And here we go. Quick load.
That's pretty damn loud, man.
That rumble feels great. DK.
You said the rumble's lighter than the 552?
It is, and lighter than the 2+ too. It's not as intense, which I think is a bonus. I don't like it when like every game I'm playing is like constantly just you know.
Well, I mean, I remember N64 rumble like feeling it was going to blow my hands off sometimes. So
it's not that bad. It's nice. Okay. It's not subtle or anything, but it never annoyed me, and I like having it there. PS2 has rumble now with the newer builds of SX2, so it's nice to have.
Cool. Well, so you haven't charged it yet, right?
I've plugged it in to transfer stuff now, but I have not done a true charge on it. So I've had it on off and on for like 4 days.
How'd the transfers go? Because a lot of people has 128 gigabytes on it. A lot of people may have a legally dumped backup collection in the hundreds of gigabytes, or just a curated list of 60 or 70 gigabytes of games that they want on this one device to rule them all. What kind of, was it faster than something like the RP2, or how fast was the data transfer?
It's really fast. It feels like just a fast copy to a micro SD card or something like that, like to a Samsung Evo. I was able to transfer 3 gigs of video footage earlier tonight in about 20 seconds, something like that. 30 seconds. Okay. It was really quick. You can feel that USB-C speed happening, that it's a true USB-C, which is nice.
That is nice.
So I was impressed with that. I like that when you plug it in, it immediately asks you if you want to file transfer or not. You know, right out of the bat off the software, off the Android 10 ROM.
No swiping down and guessing and
no guessing. MTP just kicks on and it's like, do you want to transfer or do you want to charge? Cool. You want to transfer? Here you go. Guess what? You're still going to charge as well while you're doing that because we're cool like that.
Well, that's awesome.
I like that.
I heard that what size charger does it come with? What wattage?
It doesn't come with the charger unless you bought one. But if you did buy one, it would be a 22.5 watt quick charge 3, fast charge 3 charger. Quick charge, I think it is. You know, you can use your 552 charger. You can use any of these Anchor PD devices, power delivery chargers, whatever you want, really. It's a smart system.
Delivery? That's cool.
Yeah, it'll auto fluctuate and just determine what it needs. I've charged it now today, finally, just through my USB connection in the computer and also briefly on the 552 charger to test that out. And everything seems to work well. Cool. I'm not going to buy the Odin charger. I don't think I need to at this point. And plus, you never have to charge the damn thing, dude, because the battery's fucking crazy. I'm serious. Like, I did the whole 5 hours of live stream, got down to like 50 some percent. I left it on overnight in standby mode with PS2 games running till the next day, lost like a few more percent. I played another like hour or two that day, let it stand by another day. Okay. Now I'm down to like in the 30s or 40s. And then I used it for probably 3 hours today. And just now I finally hit like 10%-ish. So,
and you recorded like 30 minutes of footage of GameCube and PS2 and all that stuff. So,
which a heads up on the footage, everything's going to show just a little slower than what it can actually achieve. I noticed that there's overhead happening to the CPU when you're running the screen recorder. So next time I'm going to try to use like a HDMI capture card to remove that bottleneck. So unfortunately, you're not going to see Odin at its 100% best when I show this footage off. So please take that with a grain of salt and know that it can do just a few frames more than what you're seeing normally.
So before we dive into software stuff, right? Because we're gonna talk about the launcher, and then talk about like some of the settings and things like that. I do want to see what your opinions are for a couple of comparisons. So overall, ergonomics between the Odin and the 552, what would you say? Given that that's completely subjective.
For me, the 552 feels more comfortable.
Okay.
Just for me, it you know, just has that really nice rounded grip, which by the way, the Odin does too. It's a little thinner too, by the way. Let's compare the thickness. And at the device's thinnest point, it is a little bit thinner.
Yeah.
But yet it feels more solid, like it's more solid construction.
So I mean, which one do you think would survive the drop test?
I think the 552 might survive a drop test. The Odin, I think they both would, honestly. I mean, I don't know. I did find one flaw on my unit, or maybe it's everyone's unit. I don't know if it's a flaw, but the left side of my screen here depresses, so you can push in all the way around. The screen doesn't push down, but if you go to the left side by the D-pad, you can feel it click in a bit. It clicks in a little right there, and you can see when the screen's on that it kind of changes colors on you.
That may be where the ribbon cable goes through, if that's the only spot.
It's the only spot, and I'm not going to knock it for that until I was able to confirm with you what that was.
Well, I'm definitely going to be doing a teardown when I finally get mine, so we'll get that video up eventually.
I'm too scared. I'm too scared to do it, man.
Too scared. That's fair. That's fair.
I don't know when I'm going to get another Odin. I don't know. It's crazy.
Now, the other major comparison that has to be made, the Odin versus the Switch Lite. Ergonomics.
Oh, Odin all day long. All day long on the Odin. The Switch Lite cramps my hands. The Switch Lite is just not a comfortable feeling device to me. It's just something in too many areas is not quite right to me. Yeah. The joysticks, though, are better on the Switch Lite to me than the Odin.
The other thing, too, was when we were on the live stream the other night, it looked like the Odin screen fucking crushed the Switch Lite screen, though.
It does. Odin screen over Switch Lite. 552, though, is a little over Odin.
Okay.
Just a bit, not by much.
Well, I
just
like
a little
the
bit.
aspect ratio of the 552 though. It makes a lot of content look really good. So
yeah, the aspect ratio is good. I like the Odin 16:9 because I'm used to that aspect ratio over the course of my life. It's really nice. I do have to say, as far as joysticks go, I like the 552 joysticks better than the Odin. They're a little grippier and they're a little better for shooters. But I do like the Odin's joysticks better than the Switch Lite, like I said, and much better than the GPD XP. GPD XP joysticks are too tall. Odin's joysticks are nice and recessed, but they're a little bit slippery, so your thumbs will slip off them much easier than a lot of these handhelds. And the right joystick isn't quite suited for FPSs super well for some reason. You got to really tweak with the dead zone settings to get it to where you want. And I'm happy with it now. And I was playing some Halo again, testing that. But I would say probably, it's hard to say. I need to see a few more devices in this range, like the P60 or something, to get a good comparison.
Well, I was going to ask you about, at the end of the day, how you felt about the thumbsticks being so low. I think it'll be great for being able to fit in your pocket. I don't really consider this to be a pocket device.
I've walked around with it in my pocket out of necessity the last few days. I got a good bathroom test in. Like everything is good. I like, you can see both these devices have recessed joystick buttons, and I think the 552 pulls it off a little bit better as far as feel and grippiness. So I would even say there might be some mods around the corner that maybe can happen to this device to make those joysticks just a little, like 10% better.
Well,
but I'm not going to knock it.
I don't think anybody's taken it apart yet, though. So
nobody's had the guts to yet. No, and I respect that.
It's a $200 to $250 device. They're not.
It's so beautiful. Usually, it's so beautiful.
And it is. It is. So let's move on to
overclocking.
Overclocking, but I was going to say some of the software stuff, like the OS updates and things like that. So it has a built-in overclocker.
It does, which, by the way, I highly recommend just leaving it in that mode because it is a night and day difference. Okay, I was playing Barbie Explorer at 4x resolution, and it has like 2x resolution, and it was kind of chugging along. Having a problem. You kick on that magical button that puts it into turbo mode, and it is a true turbo mode because all of a sudden now you can upscale in DuckStation, upscale Barbie Explorer to 4K resolution and get 60 FPS. I'm not joking, man. You can dock this thing on the dock, put it into 4K resolution upscaling, at least for the lower systems, and be totally solid.
Well, that's cool. That's awesome. That's very exciting.
On the standalone, though, not the RetroArch core. Probably not going to pull off 4K in there.
Who knows?
But, there's that. And then the screen recorder, like I said, is fantastic. Streamlabs has a built-in streaming app inside of the launcher, by the way. So that connects to YouTube Live, Twitch, Facebook, whatever you want to do. It's really nice that it's built in there, which, and it has Wi-Fi, 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi. So now we can do actual streaming. We can do actual Game Pass without latency issues. It's beautiful.
So there's a lot of praise for the software so far. And I've seen it in action from our live stream and everything like that. But I haven't actually held it in my hands. What I need to know personally, as someone who helps make custom firmware for a lot of devices and things like that, do you think Odin would benefit from custom firmware at any point?
Doesn't need it right now. It just
doesn't need it right now.
I know we're the custom firmware guys. We tend to always be involved in that. But at this point in time, this is one ROM that so far has been perfect. I have a couple gripes that I think could come in improvements that could happen, but it is so good right out of the box. Like a lot of thought and care you can tell went into it, even more so than the 2+'s software, which already was pretty decent as far as a launch stock OS goes.
So, well, I mean, that's not necessarily discouraging, but that's interesting. It doesn't seem like the kind of device that would benefit from Linux, like a Batacera or Emulec.
I mean, if we can get
the lower emulator compatibility.
Yeah, if we could get a Sebiana unit, maybe you could get an Elec on this just for fun. I don't know if there's Linux or Batacera PS2 emulators for Linux, but I'm sure there must be. We'll have to see. So far, though, I'm thinking we don't need it. I know you can run Windows on this 845 as an unsupported OS. Yeah. I haven't thought to run Windows on mine. I'm not a huge Windows handheld guy. Right. I don't want to manage antivirus software while I'm trying to get into a flow.
It's just more overhead. Yeah, absolutely.
It's just more overhead. So,
yeah. Well, so the actual OS feels nice and tight, you're saying, but what about we didn't do the launcher on the live stream. All right. We did that for 4.5 or almost 5 hours. Yeah. We didn't fuck with the launcher at all. Yeah. We used the Android TV launcher and that was it. So you messed with the launcher since then. How are you feeling about it now?
I've played with the launcher a bunch in the last few days. It is a really, really nice, slick, simple launcher. It does what it needs to do. It doesn't try to be an emulator front end like the 2 Plus launcher does. It just focuses on a clean interface to launch all of your Android apps. It has some nice animations. It has different categories, so you can switch between your games, your Android native games category section, swap quickly over by flicking your left thumb to getting into your emulators themselves, and you can swipe down again to get into your system apps or your productivity apps. It's a nice interface. You can access all of Android's functions that you would need and want from swiping from the right, from the left, or from the bottom, depending on what you're wanting to do. So to me, it was near fully functional to where I didn't need to use the AOSP quick settings launcher, the default experience for Android 10. It was, I could do everything I needed to do. It was nice and simple. However, there's one deal breaker that was really annoying me, and that's that there wasn't an easy way to get to the swap screen part of the launcher. So if you want to swap between your different apps, there's no quick, fast way to do that. What you have to do is go to the main screen of the launcher, click on the Odin settings button at the bottom of the screen, then hold down and swipe up halfway like you would on Android 11 or 12, and then you can get rid of apps out of memory, or you can swap between them. That's too many steps. If I was on the stock launcher, you can just swipe from the bottom halfway and then swap between apps.
So double tapping the home button and all that didn't work for the app switcher?
Not when you're in the launcher. Not when you're in the launcher overrides all that stuff.
Gotcha.
So you got to deal with what they got, and they haven't implemented a quick switch yet. So that's something I want.
That's a feature they'll put in a future update.
I would hope
that
so.
covers a huge amount of stuff right there. Let's go ahead and get into emulation and performance. So obviously we're talking like N64 and before, it just dominates it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it just crushes it. That's
there's no point in showing it.
It just does it. We showed it a little bit on the live stream just so we could show how those games looked on that screen specifically, not as a test for the emulation performance. So what's going on with the spreadsheet right now? Because there's a spreadsheet up for game settings for a lot of these more advanced games.
There are. So Sweet Prince Scott of the Odin Nacho Sloth clan put together a little spreadsheet, and I am not up to date on it as of today, but people are starting to populate it with their tests. So everybody, please go. We'll put the link in the description. Please go to the spreadsheet if you have an Odin and just put all your tests in there. There's also a separate accessories spreadsheet. So any Bluetooth controllers, things like that you want to test, please add that in there, and we'll help each other out, and we'll see what settings we need to do to get the best gameplay for Tony Hawk 4, for instance, or whatever. Jim really wanted to know. Jim Gray, shout out Miu Mini Onion OS. It's the best. He really wants Tony Hawk working. Really he won't buy an Odin until he knows he can get Tony Hawk, every Tony Hawk working. So
that's fair. So something big happened very recently, as in today or yesterday.
That's right.
GameCube, right?
Today. So get this. So for the live stream, I was using MMJR2, and it was working pretty well. It wasn't flying, but it was working well. Today, mainline Dolphin, somebody in one of the MMJ builds like, hey, why don't you enable this one setting for the Adreno? and then see if that improves it in the main Dolphin build, because it did for us. And so they enabled this setting that's specific to Snapdragon chips and the Adreno GPU part of it, and it increases speed by 50 to 100% in most instances.
Holy shit.
In main Dolphin. So if you update to the latest dev build of Dolphin, the nightly build, you're going to see melee in 3x resolution. You're going to see a lot of these Dolphin games just flying now, and I confirmed that today in the footage we're going to watch in a few minutes. That's all done with the newest Dolphin build. I don't know what to say. It's pretty impressive. You're going to see American Wasteland, which is a game I couldn't even get running on MMJR2. It was so freaking slow, even on the Odin. It doesn't even play on the 2 Plus, but on the Odin even, it was not playable. With the new build, it is near fully playable. You can even do in 2x, and that's a game that's horribly optimized. It's like one of the best games to use for benchmarking, I think, in GameCube, because it is just horribly, horribly, horribly optimized. So it's actually running.
That's awesome. That's awesome to hear. So for those of you out there that are wondering, it's this version of Dolphin, you can't download it from the Play Store yet. Okay. You have to go to their website and download it. We also have it pinned in the Odin Base and Pro channel in the Retro Handhelds Discord. All right.
Yep.
It's in there. Go grab it. It's Dolphin Master 5.0 15957. That's 15957. That's the version that you need to really get GameCube popping off on your Odins.
That's what you want. Now the footage we're going to show is not going to have Saturn. Saturn works pretty well. Somebody gave a tip today. They said use the RetroArch Yaba. That seemed to have less issues. Yaba 2 apparently is having some issues. I haven't confirmed that myself. For me, I've been using Yaba 2, and it's been flying. Panzer Dragoon, as you saw in the live stream, everything seems to work well. Dreamcast, use Redream. Everything, we don't need to show it off because it just is going to look amazing. At this point, all you're going to left to do is upscale it if you want. PSP, same thing. You can upscale it to 5x easily in every game, except for Killzone, where you have to run it at like 1 or 2x because it will freeze your device. And maybe God of War, but for the most part, PSP you can definitely upscale. I also didn't show 3DS, but that's just because I forgot. I ran out of time today. So you can watch some of that in the live stream. You'll see that 3DS is running pretty well.
3DS, so
and with 3DS, main Citra or Citra MMJ is going to work better than the new Citra Enhanced beta on the Odin. That's one thing I did notice.
Well, awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing some of this footage. I haven't seen this stuff yet, so it's going to be a live reaction here. Let's do this.
Let's do it. And before we get to that, this footage also is not going to cover any Game Pass, Stadia, Steam Link, or Moonlight. But because I'm out here in my trailer in my remote studio, so my Wi-Fi is a little too slow to really show it off well. But I did cover that in the live stream. And I've been playing it in the last few days, and Game Pass is flawless. I was playing Forza last night. It's beautiful. I'm like Cathonix, look at Forza. It's freaking gorgeous. There's no like buffering happening, and there's no latency. I was playing Doom Eternal, beautiful. I was playing Stadia on Cyberpunk, great. Steam Link I tested today with Cuphead, flawless victory, and Moonlight as well works very well. So we're not going to showcase that.
That's amazing.
I'm sure Russ and Talk, you're going to show that off enough as it is. HDMI output, you can swap between 1080p if you want to 4K if you're going to output HDMI. I tested that today, so HDMI does work. I did 1080p for the most part for trying to capture stuff, although I had some issues with that because of my capture card, not because of the Odin. But for the dock, you can output at 4K. So guess what, everybody? I think we got a Shield Pro killer here. Finally.
Ooh,
finally.
Good. Fucking
we can
good,
load
man.
Plex on there, dude. We can load freaking Kodi. This might be an all-in-one. You dock it when you're at home and you pull it off and you keep going. Like, I'm so freaking stoked on it. I'm so stoked.
People have joked about it, but it does in fact sound like a potential Switch killer, honestly.
Yeah. So. It truly, truly does. And with that, let's go into the footage. I'm going to turn myself off, and I'm going to start things out here with Dolphin. And let's just launch it. All right. So you can see right now we're getting a pretty solid 60 FPS. And I really am excited to play Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes. That's my next game in Metal Gear I want to get to. So that's the first one I had to try out here. And it handles upscaling no issue, as you're going to see in a minute. I'm very thankful.
You have basically all these GameCube games running at 3x?
I believe I'm starting them all at 3x and then working my way down.
Okay.
Some of them, such as like Tony Hawk's American Wasteland, you just got to run at 1x if you want to get 60 frames. But the fact that that game even gets to 60 frames on any handheld now is fantastic. Yeah. So Dolphin, thank you. So we're starting a new game. And this is what I hear is the definitive version of Metal Gear Solid. Minus the voice acting, which is, I guess, redone. This one runs, I believe, at 30. It swaps between 30 and 60 FPS depending on the content.
Right.
So don't be freaked out if it drops to 30. That's seems to be normal for it.
Looking good.
But here we are at, I'm not quite sure what the resolution is.
Oh, and you have the widescreen hack enabled for everything, right?
So everything has the widescreen hack enabled, correct?
Okay.
So don't worry about that. What you're seeing here is the CPU start to throttle up. So it's throttling and it'll stabilize itself out.
And you just have this in high performance mode at all times.
This is in high performance mode for this entire showcase here. It is running the fan in smart mode. You might be able to get a few extra frames by running the fan in full sport mode, just because it can cool the CPU a bit more. I haven't really found that to be a need yet. So here I am going in, I'm changing the internal resolution down to 1x to see if I can get any more smoothness happening. And I noticed right away that, nope, that is completely no problem.
Okay.
And I think I'm going to pop it back up in a second here. Here we go. There we go.
So that's just kind of how the game runs, right?
Now I'm putting it to 2x. Let's see how it goes. That's just kind of how the game runs. Still doing really, really well. Take out those guards. Getting shot. Come on, Stubbs. Look alive.
No, you gotta mess with settings. No.
I gotta tweak. I think now I'm... okay, so here's the infamous Tony Hawk's American Wasteland. The thorn in my side. My favorite Tony Hawk game. All right, man. I've been so bummed that nothing ever runs this stupid game. I really like playing it. The only thing I got to run it really well was the Win 3, but at that point you're talking over $1,200 just to play Tony Hawk's American Wasteland.
Just for that? That's the only reason why you bought it?
That's the only reason. So here I am trying it in 2x to start with, and it's running pretty well. I'm very surprised that it's even getting to 50, sometimes 60 FPS.
Right.
Because it looks gorgeous in 2x. You know, look at this. I'm able to fall and embarrass myself in really high frames.
That was going to be something else that I asked you about.
Here we go.
Are you using the NTSC version of all these ROMs, or are you using Intel?
These are all NTSC. Oh, I was at 3x there. Jesus, man. Looks like now I'm at 2x. Okay. These are all NTSC ROMs. I wanted to start with that as a base. I'm like, you know what? I don't want to have to download PAL versions of ROMs anymore to try to...
You mean legally back up?
Well, yeah, legally back up. That's 100% correct. But on the 2 Plus, you got to use PAL versions of your backup games.
Right.
And here, I'm like, okay, 2x is running really well, but we're still getting some dropped frames. This is one of those games that flies now at 1x. There we go. I probably could have left it at 2x because the game itself is notoriously just unoptimized.
Right. That is something that people need to consider sometimes about some of these games. Some of your favorite games didn't run at full FPS, even on the original hardware team.
Perfect. Right? Perfect Dark. Perfect Dark. I'm looking at you. Mario 64. Now, I didn't even see what game I launched there. This is probably going to be Melee.
Yeah, it looks like Melee.
Now, I didn't grab the sound because the sound during this part is just me yammering on about who knows what, we figure, well, let's just talk about it. And for people who are listening to this episode who aren't watching it, we're just watching, again, just gameplay footage here. And Mario and Donkey Kong are facing off. And I'm proud of this footage here because I actually did decent as Mario. I usually play as Donkey Kong, so you can do the suicide drop and grab people. But I was bumping my head to the music. The speakers were sounding great. Here we go. Oh yeah. Now my mom's much better at Smash Brothers than me, and I'm not afraid to admit that.
Well, let's see how netplay goes with the Odin, and I bet there could be some pretty serious melee tournaments and stuff like that. People are talking about it. With that.
People are talking about it. Okay, so now we're kicking it from 1x up to 2x.
You know, loading up modded melee or something like that.
There's a lot of mods to load. This is the NTSC again, 2x resolution here, and look at that. Look at that. We're still hitting 60 FPS. This was not the case in MMJR2, mind you. Okay. Yeah. It was good, but I wasn't able to upscale. This is smooth. It looks beautiful. Dolphin, since it's the mainline Dolphin, has all of the included fixes over the years that they've added, so it's way more compatible. You're having way less visual glitches. So not only are you getting a faster experience now with upscaling on this thing, but you're getting it without any visual annoyances. There we go. And that's game. I'm so happy. My heart's so happy that I get to come back from my terrible performance the other night during the live stream, because I can't do two things at once.
Well, I'm glad we're going over it now like this.
I know. Okay, so let's see what's next. So next we're going to load up, thinking about it. Soul Calibur. Very nice. So we left off, I believe, at 2x. So I think that's where we're starting here.
Okay. I'm personally a huge fan of the Soul Calibur games. I love them. I like this one. I like that you can play as Link, but I wasn't huge into some of the other ones. I'm not personally, and this is crazy, I'm not a huge fighting fan in general. As a kid, I played some Tekken. I thought that was fun. And a little bit of Street Fighter, but I've never been my main genre. So, but I appreciate it. And I think my favorite style of this is going to be that Smash Brothers. There's just more to it than just beating the crap out of each other. So here we go. So starting at 2x resolution, we are punching, we are slicing, and it looks gorgeous. I love that we're in mainline Dolphin, and we're not having like elements of the background like turn on and off, you know? Right.
That's more impressive.
Look at one of the characters and they don't have any eyes or something like that.
Yeah. That's like, that starts to get to you. I don't care that much, but it's nice to just look at that backdrop now and enjoy the sunset and the clouds and the details on the rocks and
on your handheld,
on the handheld. That nice 1080p screen, which we didn't even mention what the screen resolution was, I don't think. So it's 1080p.
I did. Yeah.
Oh, you okay? Good. So what are we launching now? Mario Kart Double Dash. I think this is the last Dolphin game we're gonna do.
DD is definitely one of those games that it seems smooth until it's not when you're emulating. So
right.
Are we still in 2x here?
We should still be in 2x, yeah. A good compromise for most of GameCube in this build of Dolphin is going to be 2x.
But still, it looks fantastic.
It does. Well,
and you're going to want playing on a 70-inch screen usually as well. You're in handheld mode.
Right.
So it has a much greater pixel density than your HD TV, you know.
Right. And 1x Dolphin on the Odin looks a little bit grainy, you know. It's like the 2 Plus when you under res to like 0.5 or 0.6. That's about the effect it has. So you're going to want to try to push to 2x now that it's an option. I would start there. 3x if you're feeling cocky, but not every game's going to be able to hit that.
So we're going to have a lot of people that may disagree with, you know, the claims that things are running at full speed or whatever, but then we're going to have probably 30 times as many people who are like, I don't care if it drops a frame or two here and there.
Well,
it's totally playable and it's good, right?
And people are going to argue whether you bought the base or the Pro, because the base has half the RAM, right? It has 4 gigs instead of 8. And I would argue that you don't need 8 gigabytes of RAM for most things unless you're running Windows. There's claims out there that this thing eats up 4 gigs of RAM all day long, and they're usually, the memory is running over 50% utilization. I think that it has that memory to eat up, and so it does. Right. I don't have a base, so I can't be sure on this, but my theory is that a base will run just as well in most of all of this here as the Pro. And I think it will use less RAM.
It's definitely going to run all your favorite Android games. It's going to run all your favorite, ROMs from before the GameCube and PS2 era. So,
and also
that RAM.
Yeah, and I don't think it's something to worry about. The battery's the same. Nearly everything's the same except for the internal storage speed and the amount of RAM. And I think the base is just as freaking awesome as the Pro in all aspects. And I'm probably going to try to pick up a purple base as my next Odin. Because I don't think the 8 gigs is needed if you're running Android. I think that's overkill.
Yeah, it'd be cool to see the comparison.
We've
got 2 gigs
excited
and
to see
plus right now.
So we've been running this at 3x resolution in Mario Kart here, by the way, in the last minute or so. What are we doing? Oh, we're going to 4x. Oh, because 3x was conquering it, and I'm like, let's do it. And then I thought, that's crazy. What am I thinking here? Come on, Stubbs. What are you doing with your life? So here I'm not in the launcher because I want to actually like switch apps and get stuff done. So I went back to this default experience. It looks like we're segueing now into a little bit of Android native gaming. So here's Real Racing 3 that used that gyroscope. And for this game, mostly
was this the point that you realized it had a gyroscope, or was it this earlier?
It was by accident. It was in this game because Russ has always recommended playing this one, and I hadn't played it before, and I love F1 stuff. This is the game where I figured it out, but it wasn't during this footage. It was earlier today. I stumbled upon it though. I did not think there would be a gyroscope in this, and there I am testing it out. You can see me. I am shifting the Odin from side to side.
Given the wiggle test.
It doesn't control the car. I think you can maybe set it up to do that, but this is another game that uses those analog L2, R2, and you can change it between digital and analog, or you can tell the system to use both depending on the context.
Right.
So this is using the analog. So I was testing out the sensitivity of it there. Moving on to Mortal Kombat for Android. So Mortal Kombat for Android, I discovered this morning, and it's a lot of fun. It is brutally violent, and some of the finishing moves are like crazier than some of the PS5 finishing moves. It's pretty nuts. But I didn't configure the key mapper on this one yet, so you're going to see me playing it by just touching the screen. There's a lot of slashing and like swiping up, and I'm not sure how to emulate that on the key mapper. I'm sure there's a way, but I haven't taken the time to figure that out. Because there's only so many hours in a day.
It's a native Android app, so obviously it's going to be able to have a higher graphical quality than a lot of older games.
Right.
So it does look great.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. Now, if any of these games have a higher resolution or HD packs you can enable, I'm sure it can handle it no problem. By default, I think a lot of these newer games probably just default to those higher settings, but it's hard to say here. As you can see, I need to swipe there. Like I said, this game is just a lot of fun. So if you want a good free Android game to play, Mortal Kombat, highly recommended. Now I swap over to Oceanhorn because I know it's Thor's favorite.
I do. It is one of my go-tos for Android testing. Absolutely.
Nice, bright, colorful.
Great.
And since we saw this
Zelda-like RPG, solid gameplay.
Gorgeous colors. But since we saw quite a bit in the live stream, I'm only going to spend probably 10 seconds on this just to
make sure it loads. Yeah, gets in there.
Just to show you. which, by the way, we keep referencing this live stream. It's on our YouTube channel and also available to listen to if you want to on our audio podcast. There was a request for that, and I feel like you probably should watch the video. However, your eyes might get burned out of your retinas because of my auto exposure issues, which we've now resolved.
They have been
all right.
resolved.
Now, here's what I really like playing on Android. It's Call of Duty Mobile Time. So the key here, I've configured every function of the key mapper. I've fixed the right joystick to be correct and sensitive, and made sure to map the R2 to be the firing the button, because the AYN footage they were using, I think like A or B for firing their gun in this. And I'm like, why would you do that? You got to use, you have that really nice analog trigger, man. Come on. Then we got to go through all of our gotcha screens here. Like, hey, you unlock this and it's your day 2. And now claim your reward. Keep logging in every day for a little bit of dopamine hit. Bye, 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 bye. Once you get past all that, you got a really solid game in here. Cool, you can have this. Great, there's a storyline. I don't care. Nobody has time for that. I just want to shoot stuff. Cool. Good. Let's move past. I want to play. Get out of this. Get out of there. Click on multiplayer. Click on start. Okay, cool. And I'm proud of this round, by the way. I actually kill some fools. I bupped them. Okay? I bupped like 5-10 people. I got the bupp. I got the upper bupp on them. I was just bupping around.
Well, here's the other thing too. You're using the built-in controller for a mobile game that has touch controls, right?
Correct.
So you better be wasting some fools. That's what I'm saying.
Well, because I took the time to configure that right joystick, it finally felt good. And this is the first instance of an FPS on the system that really has felt really comfortable to play, where I felt like I could actually stand up and compete. So you'll see in this round, I'm actually competing.
There you go.
Whereas on the live stream, the joystick was just not configured, and it was just a horrible experience. So we're going to come around here. Let's
configure your joysticks.
Configure your joystick. Make sure you're setting it to FPS mode. Otherwise, it will not work. Kill that guy. Boom. Look, here's Stubbs just owning face, okay? I'm not even going to be humble about this. Like, this is just like top tier Stubbs right now. I'm old. Like, I'm proud of this. This is what I got. It's my legacy. I'm going to leave my children.
Because you're wasting.
Cheeto Steve
that are using
Cheeto Steve can't touch me on this
old phone. Cheeto Steve. No.
Yeah. No, he's around to stay. Watch these guys. Boom. Done.
Nice.
Just look at the graphics. I should have come in there with the melee and just stabbed him in the head, but next time. I can tap to use my score streak, but I don't care because I'm having too much fun capping. Boom. You're done. I can be good at video games.
This is like pretty good at it. This is like when PC players join up on, people who are playing on Xbox and shit, right? And they just destroy them because of how much
demolish everybody. This is what you can do, everybody, when you configure these controls and you fine tune them. Oh yeah,
you're just on a rampage here,
dude. I was in the flow for once. Oh, they finally got me. I was reloading. I should have ducked and gone around the bench. I was like, all right, you know what?
Earned that shit though.
I did. All right. Good. What's next? Okay, now I go back to Dolphin, and we're going to do a little bit of Wii. Now, this is the last story for Wii, a fantastic role-playing game with some action elements to it. It was running better earlier before I was running the screen recorder. So the screen recorder, like I said, I think is using up some CPU overhead here because this was running faster just a few hours ago.
Was it running on full, though?
It was running on full at, I think at 2x. And you know what, though? I might have been running it on Vulkan. It looks like I've switched to OpenGL. I think Vulkan might run this a bit faster. Either way, it's playable. You just got to drop it to 1x in this instance. And this is one of those games I've never beat, but I really want to. I like the weapons you have in it. This place is crawling with these things. What do we do? I don't think they've noticed us yet. Come on, you. All right, now pause, Stubbs, pause, and change that resolution down so you can just squeeze a little more juice out of it.
Get a little slow down
I know,
there, but again, it's mostly from the screen recording. Because not only is it using the processor, it's also using the GPU, and it's also writing to the eMMC, the inbuilt hard drive, the storage. So screen recording, even having it on a device like this, is ridiculous. Now you get somebody in here playing SNES or N64 or something like that maybe wants to stream it, right?
Yeah.
Then
just realize that you're going to be coming up against that. Yeah, you're going to get a little hot. I should turn the fan to sport mode here to help it out a bit, but lessons learned. Now, this is New Super Mario Bros. For Wii, running beautifully here at, I believe, 2x. And I'm guessing many Wii games are going to be just as playable. It just kind of depends. So this is, again, running the main build of Dolphin with that new Adreno fix.
Well, one of the bigger issues with Wii has always been emulating the Wiimote.
Great. Oh, and here's the gyro.
And the nunchuck.
Watch.
Yeah.
Here's the gyro. Yeah. So you shake your Odin and it totally works. Just got to remember to
that's great.
To configure. So remember to pair your Wiimote and tell it to use the built-in Odin gyro. And that totally works. I didn't even know that was a thing in this game. There we go. I was just having fun. It's probably a game I'll come back to. Doo-doo. Very good. I'm guessing I'm going to close out of the footage now and move on to something else. Exit it out. We also got KoroQ there just staring at us, but I think I moved on from Wii. Nope, one more. So still an OpenGL. I just want to say that Vulkan's going to do a little bit better in Wii.
Most likely, yeah.
Then you got to enable that back-end multi-threading, which OpenGL can't do. All right, what do we got here, man? Mario Kart.
Yeah.
This one I think was struggle busing a little bit, if I remember right.
Did you try it without the screen recording on earlier?
This is one I didn't know. This is the first time I'm playing this game on the Odin.
And are you still at 2x internal?
Yes. Yeah, I should still be at 2x. I wouldn't recommend trying too much on Wii at 3x. I don't think it's going to quite pull it off. No, do 150C. Fast mode, there you go.
Yelling at your past self.
Yeah, come on, past self. Be better. Good. Good. Let's applaud that effort. There we go. I like that I have an applaud button. So we have all these all these effects that we can do in our podcast now. And I'm going to have to start trying them out. They're super cheesy.
They're so cheesy. That's ultra cheesy.
I know. I just got to learn how to use it at the right timing, right? Okay, so Mario. And here I am trying to mess with it. Let's turn it down to 1x. 2x was kind of struggling here. And even 1x is kind of having a tough time. And that's okay.
Did you enable Google Play services?
Yeah.
Are they running in the background?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they definitely are. Well, I keep getting these claims that they don't matter, that Google Play services don't add any overhead. So it's hard to say. But I don't know what to believe anymore, Thor.
Who do I believe?
Which that's a gripe, is that Google Play is not simple, or it's not immediately obvious where to enable it when you're in the Odin launcher. When you first start up your Odin, it says do this and this. Turns out the register Google services option in the Odin launcher is not for logging into Google Play. What it's meant for is to copy the device's internal hardware code and then register it with Google in case you want to ever change the ROM out, in case you want custom firmware. Then the device is pre-registered. Apparently, I had to Google it to understand what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, looks like we moved on to, this is PS2, right? Yeah. Okay, so we're in AetherSX2. Moving on to PS2 now. And we start things out. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4.
Shout out Jim Gray.
Jim Gray. And it runs very well. Look at that. Nice, crisp. I could take the time. These are all default settings too. So you could take the time to configure it so you're getting 100% smoothness. Because we are seeing a few drops a bit, but the sound wasn't stuttering. And, I'm just breaking all of Tony's legs. No problem.
This is the NTS. It's rare to get any slowdowns, but without the sound stuttering, though,
Oh, and it was at 2x too. So 1x. Okay, so 1x will fix that, looks like. I'm also an OpenGL and on an NTSC ROM. Game backup. But it runs well. So Jim, buy an Odin and play Tony Hawk. Okay.
Just
in general,
you want to. You're going to anyway.
In general, PS2 was running better for me than GameCube for the most part. I was able to run Black, which rarely runs. You need a pretty beefy PC to run that game. And that one got to run at 1x, but it runs well. A lot of the games you see in my collection here all seem to run pretty well. Nothing was just not working. On the live stream, Spyro Enter the Dragonfly wasn't working, but the new version of Aether fixed that. Okay. I am now on the latest version, build 1106, which came out yesterday. So I'm on the very latest, double checked that, because this is getting better performance than on the live stream, which I was on version 702, it turns out there, by the way, which was old. So here's American Wasteland, which is running a little bit better on PS2 than it is on GameCube. Real fast, real nice.
Yep, looking decent.
Having fun. Tony Hawk games were just king of the crop for that era. So all those games there seem to run well. I started them up at least once. Romancing Saga and a lot of role-playing games you can run at 3x. MTV's Pimp My Ride you can run at 3x, which is very important to know, because I doubt anybody has attempted to test MTV's Pimp My Ride on this handheld yet. So I'm happy to blaze some trails. I'm here to tell you.
Things like Final Fantasy X and Final Fantasy 12 were in fact running at 3x, right?
They are, and you'll see that in a second too. Without issues, really. I mean, I didn't take the time to get into battles and all that, but for the most part, seems to run well. So here we are running MTV's Pimp My Ride at 3x resolution in AetherSX2. No visual glitches, no slowdowns, and the music actually is pretty freaking popping on this game. I was actually impressed. This is actually a fun game. I open these games because they're jokes, but I'm going to shut up because this is just a fun experience. My door's flying off. Done. Gun is another game that ran pretty well, which that's a fun, like, kind of Western game from the early 2000s. Early aughts, as they say. From Russia with Love. This game, I did run into a bug right there. I moved one step. That was glitching in my pre-testing as well. For some reason, I'd move James around and he'd glitch out in just that one area. So that's probably an Aether thing, or I could mess with settings. But moved right along onto Gun, kind of a precursor to Red Dead Redemption.
I remember Gun. It was a good game.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. Good storyline. This is running full frame. One of my
first open world games.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And now playing it on a handheld, which is crazy. There I am shooting some birds. Boom, 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 boom. Moving right along. Final Fantasy X, which I called it Final Fantasy X, and Thor was like, "You did what? You say what?" I'm like, you shut your filthy mouth. I say X. If Russ gets to call Mega Man X Mega Man 10, then I get to call Final Fantasy X Final Fantasy X. So here I am. This is in 3x resolution. Titus is just running around. These people are just sitting there with their volleyballs. with their blitz balls.
Looks good.
And looks very nice. Burnout Revenge runs okay. Black runs in 1X pretty decently. Most importantly, though, right? it does run, and I was playing it and enjoying it. Most importantly, Barbie and the 12 Dancing Princesses does run at 3X on this handheld, collecting your gems. This is the spiritual successor to Barbie Explorer for PS1. I do want to speedrun this, and I'm waiting for retro achievements to happen. So,
well, this was the one.
This really was. This is Genevieve. This is Barbie's friend Genevieve, and she runs around and collects pink crystals that someone just left about the trail, just all
helping the environment.
Yeah, we're just cleaning up the environment, and she's just running around. She's about to pull out a machete and just slice that deer up. That's in the director's cut. Anyway, I just wanted to show everybody that game works. Lastly, I think we're going to go into Grandia 3. Which is a very underrated role-playing game, sequel to Grandia 2 for the PS2. This is a game I played as a kid, and just a good storyline, good mechanics. The FMV is running at a lower res. It's called software FMV mode. And by doing that, you can remove any visual glitches, but you can tell that it's a little fuzzy.
Okay.
But I was running into an issue on Aether where running in hardware FMV mode was causing some black screens. So switching it to software will fix that, if at a little bit less quality.
I think it's important to briefly point out that Aether is in early alpha, even right now.
Early alpha.
It's crushing PS2. So
it is.
It's just going to keep getting better and better and better.
It is. Running into PSP real quick, just showed this off. We played Mega Man X Maverick Hunter the other day, but this is the same game. This one we found out you can upscale to 10x if you're insane, and it works, but there's no need because the resolution only goes to 1080, so you can probably
right.
stop. You can stop at around 4 or 5x. So here I am running this at 5x resolution. So this is a game that's going to look beautiful outputting to your dock, to your 4K TV. Classic game. I did notice the face buttons on the Odin aren't quite as fast as the 552. Okay. So the 552 on the same game here, I can tap them just a little bit faster to get that edge. The Odin, what do you call it? Like the play or like the give of the button, the travel is just a little bit slower, maybe a little clunkier in a way. So I'm talking like 3 to 5% less though. It's not bad, but I did notice that playing them side by side, I'm able to depress a little faster, a little more turbo with my thumb on the 552.
But you think maybe speedrunners and people like that aren't going to be too happy with it?
If you're a speedrunner, you might want to stick with an Anbernic. I'm not sure. Yeah, here's Apocalypse for PS1, by the way, in Duck Station standalone. Here I am upscaling to 5x, and now I'm upscaling it to 9x or 4K just to prove, just to show you that you can upscale stuff to 4K on that dock and still run, for the most part, just fine.
That's hilarious.
I probably would have it at like 7 or 8x, but it should be fine. Yeah, but 5x, beautiful. PS1 has never looked better. Oh, the Apocalypse is one of my favorite games for PS1, starring Bruce Willis. He's just kicking ass. So with that kind of wraps up our little showcase of software. This is something new we've done on our podcast we don't normally do, and it's kind of fun to do that. So that's the end of that. I'm going to turn that off and myself back on.
There he is. Hey, buddy.
Hey, man. So
that seems like some really impressive performance for a handheld. I mean, it's a handheld.
I wasn't ready for it, man. Like,
it's not a space station like the Steam Deck, you know?
Yeah.
And it's obviously bigger than the Lite, but
it is.
It seems like the screen's better, the battery's better. And to be getting such solid GameCube and PS2 performance on a brand new handheld is dang.
It's I mean, yeah, we are so spoiled, right? Like we just barely got used to the fact that we can play really, really good N64 and really good Dreamcast. Like 2 months ago, like a month or two ago. Right. Now all of a sudden we are propelled forward and playing not just decent GameCube, but really good GameCube and really good PS2. And by the way, this thing does play 3DS pretty damn well. So what? I'm just not ready for it. Like I still want to play a bunch of N64 and Dreamcast on my 2 Plus. Like give me some time. People are expecting now to hear about PS2 and GameCube, and it's like I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready for this yet, you know.
And hopefully the Saturn performance can increase as well eventually.
Yes. Saturn's
good. Ones that's hard to emulate. It had a lot of sub-processors and weird crap going on in it. So for it to not be perfect right now, it's understandable. The Dreamcast, though, you can play any Dreamcast game on the Odin, it seems.
Anyone you want. There's no point in showing it because just choose your upscaling amount, you know, see what something like Nightmare Creatures 2, that one's kind of tough to run. Even that probably can run in maybe 2x. So just, you know, go through, enjoy it, add it to Scott's spreadsheet. We really want to get a definitive list of settings that'll work for people so they don't have to spend too much time mucking around and figuring out what works if the community's already done the work. So that's the beautiful thing about community. We all work together towards a common goal.
And like I was talking about, make sure you keep in mind that AetherSX2 is still actively and fervently in development.
Right.
They're going to keep releasing alpha builds and more alpha builds and more alpha builds, and they're going to keep refining it and making better. It's being actively developed, and so it's just over time. Expect for the Odin to be able, if there's some obscure game that you're running at like 90% right now, most likely within the next year, with how hard this is getting developed, you'll be able to play your favorite obscure, bizarre game at 100% speed. So don't worry if Katamari Damacy doesn't run, you know, at 100% right now. I'm sure it does, but
it works. It's nice.
Just don't worry if your favorite weirdo game doesn't run perfectly right this second. It most likely will just keep getting better and better.
Agreed. And with that, man, let me move on to summary. Can I just roll off my likes and dislikes off the cuff here?
Blow it out.
All right. All right. Likes. Battery life is insane. Again, that 6,600 milliamp hour. I love it. The thing still hasn't died. I've barely charged it, just a little bit, 10 minutes or something. Incredible. Those M1 and M2 buttons are game changers. I didn't know I'd want those, but they're a lot of fun to configure my hotkeys to and just have them as extra functionality for Android games. Really freaking nice. Gyroscope, stumbling on that, just like in the RP2 Plus. It's really, really nice to have. Nice for the Wiimote, nice for Android games.
Yeah, the fact that it works with the Wiimote is pretty crazy. That it's able to emulate it.
Which I'm guessing that the same thing can be said for the 2 Plus. So probably don't need to use the screen mapping as much. So try it on the 2 Plus. That's really nice to know. The rumble works great and not as overwhelming as the 552. An option to swap between gesture and standard Android home back buttons is really nice when we first launched the Wizard. In the live stream, we were using the old school, home back button combo. But since then, I've discovered the gesture mode is way better and way easier to move around on such a wide handheld because you can use your thumbs to swipe from the left, from the right, or from the bottom to get what you need to do. So I would recommend the gesture mode. It's just, to me, more intuitive and more modern. Built-in key mapper is another like for me. I love that is on the 2 Plus. I haven't used it a ton there. But for the Odin, I'm using it nonstop and enjoying a lot of Android gaming with that. So having that overlay for your FPS, by the way, there's a built-in one in the launcher. You can overlay over every app, and the Odin detects what the FPS is going to be. It is not 100% accurate, as we learned in our live stream. It's like 95% accurate. So just take that with a grain of salt. having the ability to swipe from the right at any time and see what your temperatures are at, what your memory usage and CPU usage are at, having those statistics and those metrics is really nice. Having fan controls is really nice. Okay, so swiping from the top down and quickly toggling your fan between off, smart, and sport mode is really cool. That's something I don't think we have in the 552 in the current experience, maybe in custom firmware, but it's not something that I'm super familiar with for that system. Having overclock controls, having the magical button to just say, nope, you're in turbo mode now, and it actually is a true turbo that actually overclocks the whole experience to the next level. And there's 3 levels, right? There's the standard, there's the medium tier, and there's like the just crazy speed. Let's play Mario Kart on GameCube at 3x kind of stuff. So that's nice. I love the built-in screen recorder. It made capturing that footage today super, super easy. You can even go so far as to set up a home streaming like network, so you can stream the footage directly to like OBS, or stream the footage directly to your hard drive, or record it directly to your hard drive, whatnot. So the Streamlabs app is built into the launcher, so you swipe from the right, you go down to go live, and you just can broadcast your gameplay as well as the mic, so you can do your commentary on the spot if you want. You can there's a plugin to plug in a headset, which I assume can also be a mic plugin, so you can have higher quality audio. That's nice. I like the LED lights on the sides and on the joysticks. I thought they were super gimmicky in the promo pitches, but having them in real life, I'm like, this is pretty nerdy and pretty cool. Having that in bed is like, I'm like just looking at it. I'm like 15-year-old me is just like, oh, I like it. You know, the part of me that just wants to do Razer Chroma for every part of my life. Right. So that's nice. It's not RGB, it's just blue, but apparently in the future there's a hardware mod coming that might swap that out. That's cool. Love the super low brightness setting on that screen. You take it down to a low brightness, and then you take it down one more, and you have this super low brightness for playing late at night to not wake your partner. And then having the super bright option when you're outside, equally awesome. So it gets brighter than the 552. Okay, it gets brighter than the Switch Lite. It gets brighter than the 2 Plus. Well, the 2 Plus gets pretty freaking bright. It's about as bright as the 2 Plus. But it gets dimmer than the 2 Plus, okay? And I think it gets dimmer than the 552. That's nice. That ergo grip is something I do like. It's not my favorite thing in any handheld, but it's my favorite implementation of an ergo grip to date of any handheld. So I like it more than the Game Force Chi, more than the GPD XP, more than the Max 2. Okay, it's a good use of an ergo, and it's subtle, and it's enough to make it extra grippy. Lastly, I love the dock support. I love that there's a dock coming. My dock will be here with my Lite, my Superfan Lite pack that's coming whenever the Lite comes out, and then I'll try out and play with the dock. Axren on our media crew team is getting a dock with his order, so he's going to actually do a live stream here pretty soon with his Cold Gray Odin Pro or Odin Base and show off the dock. So we'll have some detailed stuff on our channel. Stick around for that. Mainly, I'm excited for the Odin because it can maybe replace my Shield Pro, and also that it can play everything that I want it to. Because guess what? I don't even want to play PS2 yet or GameCube yet. I'm not ready for that.
We're not there
I just
yet.
want to play. I still have a whole catalog of N64 and Dreamcast I want to play. I still have a whole catalog of the PS1 I want to play. And while I'm playing PS1, I want to upscale it as much as possible. So guess what? I am. And guess what? I'm having the time of my life. And guess what? It's a nice device and I like it. And I was not prepared to say that I loved the Odin. I thought it was a meme, a very memey hype console. I thought it was kind of a joke, and I didn't 100% think it was ever going to show up. No offense to anybody involved with the project. It's just that it was too good to be true. And guess what? The truth of it does meet with the hype in my mind. And so it shut me right up. Okay. It's a beautiful handheld. However, there are a couple things that annoy me, that grind my gears, and those dislikes are the screen is brighter on the 552. Okay. So what the fuck? Okay. But only by a little bit. Did I say the word brighter? I meant better. Yeah, the screen is a little bit better on the on the 552. Okay. So just by like, I mean, I would say 5 to 10% better, but enough to make me be like, well, if I'm going to play Game Boy Advanced I'll probably at this point pick up the 552 because the color saturation is so beautiful and perfect and crisp, and that aspect ratio is so great. I'll probably pick up the 552. The joysticks are a little slippery, like I said, so they need to either like a mod or like a cover on the joysticks to help them grip better, but the 552 does the grips better. However, they are better than the GPD XP and better than the many other handhelds. The 2
Switch
Plus
Lite in particular.
The Switch better than the Switch Lite. The 2 Plus I like a little better than the Odin for its joysticks, but the clickable L3 R3 of course makes the Odin kind of, it's all a wash there.
Right.
The right joystick is not amazing for FPS, but you can configure it to be amazing for you. It just takes some love. Okay. Face buttons are not quite fast enough for speedrunning or playing platformers with fast inputs. 552 face buttons register just a little bit faster, so take that into account if you're going to speedrun. Probably a lot of your old retro games that you want to get retro achievements on, probably going to be better on different handheld. Sakura retro modding, though, I bet it's going to come out with something. Little thinner buttons that can travel faster. Something's going to come from the community. It's going to be awesome. Registering for Google was not super clear. It was a little confusing. You had to switch to the default AOSP launcher to get into the area to just log into your Google Play. Okay, that was not well explained in the launcher. Why? That should be easier. Let's fix that in OTA updates of some sort. The launcher needs
do something similar to the 2 Plus as well, where they include some apps to quick install to get you started faster, as well as help you set up the Google Play Store.
Yes, there was a lot of setting up of apps. Yeah, there was a lot of setting up of apps. There was a lot of configuring. The 2 Plus did come out of the box better because the emulators were already installed. They were already configured for the most part. You just had to feed some BIOS and do this and that. So the out-of-box experience, this is a tinkerer's handheld, okay? It's not going to work for you right off the bat. You're going to have to mess with it to make it what you want it to be from scratch. Completely from scratch. So just take that into account.
Nearly as bad as other handhelds.
Correct. Not nearly as bad as something like anything from Powkitty. So just take these things into account. The launcher needs to have a quick app swapping. I'm not going to use the launcher until it does. I love it. It's simple. It's fluid, but I want to swap between what I'm doing really fast. And it takes 3 steps, and that's 3 steps too many. It should be 1 swipe. Change the app over, or like a hotkey or something. So let's add that in. Please, AYN. Let's do that. Left side of the LED screen has a little bit of give, but as Thor said, that's probably because the ribbon cable's there. So I'm not going to knock it just yet. I want to hear what the community has to say. Please leave a comment in the YouTube video below, or if you're listening on the audio version of this, let us know somewhere. And we'd love to hear more about the screen.
Let me know what you guys want to see in the teardown as well, because I'm thinking about actually taking it all the way down.
Yeah, so Thor's going to do a teardown video for the media crew and put it up on the YouTube. That is a reality because I just said it. Thor is now going to feel the pressure, and the bus wheels are coming, man. Thank you for everything
I'm going to
do
it anyway. I'm going to do it anyway.
Well, hell yeah. Thank you for
might as well record it.
I did notice that some apps on the Odin, when you launch them through the launcher, will add a green overlay, like a little green border around. But later on, I noticed that the green border also happens on like Dolphin along the bottom, and like Mortal Kombat along all the sides. Just a little thin green line that'll happen also in the default part of the OS, the AOSP launcher. So I don't know what to say about that. I haven't noticed that behavior on any other handheld. So there's some sort of overlay happening. Maybe it's the screen recorder that adds it, but it's just 1 pixel wide, and it's enough to annoy me. And I'm a stubborn pixel, so I would know what annoys me. Lastly, on my dislike list, I just like the feel of the 552 a little bit better. Just a little bit. I wish I could make these two make love and make a baby, but I know that they're vehemently opposed to each other, and that there is a hard divide in the community as to who likes what. People seem to really just say, I want a Linux handheld, and it's fine that it has Android, but screw this because it doesn't have Linux. And I have to say, there's room in your hearts. There's room in your souls. There's room in your lives for both of these. The 552, the Anbernic RG 552, and the AYN Odin. They both can be loved. GPD XP, you can probably return to Amazon and get your money back if you still have time in your return period left. So that's what I recommend for that.
Which is what you did, by the way.
Which is what I did, and I didn't even do a review on it really because I'm like, there's just no point. I hate it. Make it go away. And with that concludes at least my thoughts. Thor, you're still waiting on yours, I know, buddy, but any other thoughts you had?
Oh man, this was a good cast. That was a marathon. We got through that. Woo! We had a whole list of stuff that we had to make sure we hit, and wanted to be really transparent with people. We haven't received any review units or anything like that. I personally am extremely excited for this. I think that once I get under the hood, though, in the operating system, I'm going to may find a couple of gremlins that need to be worked out, and hopefully AYN is emotionally intelligent enough to be able to listen and accept that some things could probably be fixed.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's just building a relationship there, and whatever you want to call them. The company that makes the Odin. I mean, again, the takeaway here is we have transcended into a new era of handhelds. This is going to I said it in the live stream, this is going to raise the bar across the industry for emulation handhelds. This is going to now be the standard. As long as they make enough to keep up with demand, this will be the standard every other company needs to adhere to and take into account, because customers are not going to want to buy bullshit handhelds anymore. Okay.
Right.
They're going to expect goodness. They're going to expect some quality because there's handhelds now that are meeting these benchmarks, such as the Odin. All right. And we're just going to see more of that. So they better watch out, step up their game. Powkaddy, stop using cheap, shitty parts in your handhelds. All right. And Bernick, start putting in 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi for the love of God. GPD, please release another clamshell. We don't need any wider things. Okay, we already have phones with GameSir-X2 controllers and Kishis. All right.
SD855 clamshell. Let's go.
Finally, Miyu, your mini is beautiful. Keep doing what you do. I hope your P60 is just as good. Retroid, you're doing pretty good. Please let it be a rumor that the RP3 has a stupid Tiger Unisoc T310 in it. Because no, that's not gonna work for me. And this has been Stubbs and all of my crazy thoughts out of my brain. Thank you for joining us tonight. Good night.
Thanks, everybody. We'll catch you later.